For start, paint the base skin tone. After applying 2 coats, surface imperfections become visible. We correct these areas by sanding them down with fine grit sandpaper. Once the imperfections are smoothed out, we apply another layer of the base skin tone. Apply extra coverage to the corrected areas if necessary. Now the base coat is complete and ready for further detailing. Apply a single diluted coat of yellow ochre using an airbrush to give the skin a more mature, realistic look. Set the airbrush pressure between 0.3 and 0.4 bar. Apply this ochre wash evenly across the entire body. Cristiano's body is the result of years of professional training, so these shadows shouldn't just add volume. They should emphasize power and definition. Just like the previous step, apply this wash over the entire body. The second wash is now complete, adding more depth to the skin tone. For the third wash, use alizarin crimson. Apply it evenly, but focus more heavily on areas naturally prone to sunburn. Spray from above onto the shoulders, neck, and upper chest to emphasize the sunburn effect where the light hits to create a freckled, sun-damaged skin texture. Lower the air pressure and use a slightly thicker paint mixture to create the splatter effect. Here is the result so far. Notice how the tones are starting to come together. Mask the face properly, as we will be airbrushing shadows from below and want to protect the facial features. Keep the airbrush pressure low to maintain that textured, organic skin look. For the skin highlights, mix the original base skin tone with some white. Playing under strong lights, outdoor training, and constant sweating makes an athlete's skin far from uniform. So enhance the sunburn effect by mixing sienna with alizarin crimson and applying it with the airbrush. For the midsection and abs, we use raw sienna. Added some red to the sunburn mix to further emphasize the heat and redness. Apply a thicker consistency of the highlight color using a sponge to add texture to the skin. Focus these highlights on the shoulders, chest, six-pack, and other raised muscles. Checking our reference photo, the abdominal area needs to be slightly lighter. Use a sponge to apply this to bony areas, like the ridges of the abs, where the skin is thinner and less vascular. Apply a small amount of this green tint to the beard area as well to simulate a shadow. Lightly sponge the base skin tone over the green areas to blend it and make it look like it's beneath the skin. Mix alizarin crimson and sienna, then apply it to the fingertips, knuckles, and elbows. Mix the previous shadow color with umber. Use this dark mix to paint the deepest recesses of the muscles. Remember, darken any recessed areas that receive less light to add depth and volume to the sculpture. Applying skin shadows into the crevices creates a sense of three-dimensional depth. Apply the shadow tone to the nail beds as well. Apply this same color to the sides of the head. Apply 2 coats, first with a brush, then blend faded out using a sponge. Carefully blend the hairline to create a natural fade. Apply the hair color as a wash first to ensure the recesses are fully colored. Repeat the previous steps until you achieve the desired hair density and look. To paint fine hair strands, unload excess paint from your brush by dragging it on your hand or a palette first. Rotate the model in your hand to find the most comfortable angle for painting individual hair strands. Mix the skin shadow with more sienna and darken the area around the eyelids. The eyes are where the sculpture truly comes to life. Paint the whites of the eyes, sclera, using white paint. Apply a touch of alizarin crimson to the corners of the eyes. Next, outline the eyes using Van Dyke brown. Use black to paint the pupil and the outer ring of the iris. Add the reflection highlight, catch light, to the eyes using a dot of pure white. If the eyes work, the entire sculpture works. Mix the skin tone with ochre, umber, and sienna to create the color for facial moles. Use a very fine brush to place the moles accurately. Small imperfections here make the face feel alive, not artificial. Darken the inside of the mouth to create depth. For the teeth, mix a tiny amount of white with light Naples yellow. Apply an alizarin wash over the lids to make the color look more natural and fleshy. Mix alizarin, sienna, and skin tone. Use this to add redness to the elbows, fingertips, and ears, areas where blood flow is more visible. A footballer's hands, just like his feet, show signs of pressure, impact, and strong blood flow. Use olive green light to highlight the areas between the knuckles and finger joints. Using green, the complement of red, helps the redness of the knuckles pop and brings the skin closer to the reference. Carefully paint the veins using a fine detail brush. The back requires more freckles and texture. Mix the skin shadow color with some sienna and sponge it on to create the texture. Mix Naples yellow with the skin tone to highlight the fingernails. Use liquid masking fluid, to cover areas we don't want to paint yet. For larger areas, you can use plastic wrap to mask them off. Paint the shorts using an airbrush. Our white paint was old and cracked, so we had to sand it down. Use liquid mask to protect the parts of the shoe that shouldn't be painted. This paint is transparent, so apply 3 to 4 coats until you get solid coverage. If any paint overspray occurs, blend it out using a sponge. Remove the liquid mask. Add more purple and ultramarine to the gray mix and paint the shoelaces to separate them from the shoe body. For the first shadow on the shorts, use ultramarine violet, purple plus ultramarine. For the second shadow wash, use cerulean blue. For the third shadow wash, use raw sienna. Finally, spray white from above to soften the shadows and make them look more. For the grass base coat, mix Viridian green, ochre, sap green, raw sienna, and Van Dyke brown. For the second layer of grass, mix sap green and yellow. Add more yellow to the previous mix for the highlights. Use a fine brush to clean the edges. Use a sponge and a new color to enhance the texture density. First, draw the number using a pencil, then use a brush to paint it. Use same color as shoes. For the logo, you can print a sticker, but in this tutorial, we paint it using a fine brush. The logo is small, so try to simplify it. Make the area around the logo darker to enhance its visibility. Apply some grass color to the shorts. These dirt and grass marks help sell the story of a real match, not a static pose. Also, socks and shoes can get dirty too, so add same effect on them. Every layer of paint adds not just color, but a moment from the game. If you enjoyed this video, a simple like and subscribe really helps support the channel. And let us know in the comments which sculpture you'd like to see painted next.